and welcome back on the channel. My name is Alex and today we're looking at the best carbon plated shoes, both the most successful ones from 2021 and the new ones that we already tested on the channel in 2022. I have put together a chart. You know it because you saw it already in the best 2022 daily trainers video. If you haven't seen that one, go check it out here upper right hand corner. If you want to see this chart for today's video and the one from the other video, the daily trainer video, they are both on the website metaendurance.com. I will put links in the description if you want to save the chart as an image and go back to it, have a look, maybe before purchasing the next shoe. Or if you just want to check the article, check the website, I'm happy for you to do so. Go check the links in the descriptions. I will also try to put the links for you to purchase the shoes at our EU partner, Top for Running, US partner Running Warehouse. These are affiliate links, so I get a little kickback when you purchase via them, and it really helps the channel. So thanks a lot for going through them. The intro out of the way, let's jump right now into the charts. Same system as last time, so comfort and stability rated from 0 to 5 stars, and then 2 axes. On the horizontal axis, firmness and softness at the 2 extremities, and on the vertical axis, dullness and dynamism at the top. So the shoes are placed where they in my opinion should be. This is subjective, this is my testing. You may disagree, go in the comments and let me know why and for which shoe. If I forgot a shoe, also let me know. Let's start at the left hand side with the Skechers Speedfreek. It's a firm ride, a bit dynamic thanks to the Hyperburst foam. I don't find it very comfortable, and it's only stable because of the firmness, no specific stability features on it, so that's why it only gets 1 star for comfort and 3 for stability. Let's go down with the Speed Carbon RC from Scott. This is a fairly stable ride with a nice bevel in the heel, and it's a firm ride, and it isn't super dynamic unless you really push through the paces, but then it's not really the shoe playing a role. I find it comfortable and stable, which are good things, but I wouldn't necessarily race in it or recommend anyone to race in it. This is something a bit like the Brooks Harpian Elite 2, which isn't here on the chart, but that type of very capable tempo-oriented shoe. On running, Cloudboom Echo, it's on the firm side of things. We saw some upcoming updates to that shoe already being used by, I think it was Tadesse Abraham, the on-running athletes in Geneva or in Zurich at the half marathon. It should be softer, at least I hope so. Let's see, but this one, the upper is very, very thin and super unstructured. On the Cloudboom Echo, only 2 stars out of 5. And it is stable because of the firmness. There is a nice groove in the middle that helps guide your foot strike, but that's about it. So 3 stars out of 5 for the stability. Let's go down again. Hoka Carbon X3. This is a 2022 shoe. It is stable. It is surprisingly stable because it has a very wide platform, because the foam isn't super soft, so that also helps avoiding too much collapsing. And the comfort, in my opinion, it's a 2 stars out of 5, but that's mostly because I'm not a fan of those knitted uppers. For people who like them, they would probably give it more than 2 out of 5, but that's my personal opinion here. Craft CTM Race Rebel, very stable despite not the best lockdown, and that's why also it doesn't get the highest score in terms of comfort. Make sure you pick your US size because US and EU sizes are not aligned at Craft, but it's a dynamic ride and it's just a touch more dynamic than the CTM Ultra 2 that was featured on the other chart that we did in May for the best 2022 daily trainers. It is just a bit more dynamic, but very similar in terms of stability. So you may want to have the 2 together or just one, depending on your preferences. Saucony Endorphin Pro 2, very dynamic, but also quite firm, and I mean it's nicely placed here on the chart, and it's a shoe that personally I do appreciate a lot because it works nicely for my type of running. Very comfortable, nice upper, very thin, but with some structure to it. Overall, I really like the comfort on this shoe, hence the 4 out of 5 stars. And it's a stable one, mostly because of the thicker and more rigid plates, but also the Pebax foam isn't the softest one on this shoe, so it gets 3 stars out of 5 in terms of stability. Ultra Vanish Carbon. This one was quite tricky to place. It's a zero drop shoe with a very pronounced rocker. It's stable, mostly in my opinion because of the very wide platform, especially in the forefoot, to allow your toes to spray out nicely. You know, natural type of running, very pronounced rocker in the forefoot, and it only becomes dynamic, and it becomes a bit softer also at higher paces for me. Marathon pace, that's, you know, how I rank those shoes around marathon, half marathon pace. They're not ranked based on 5K pace, which wouldn't make much sense because most of us are racing a bit longer distances, or at least you watching. Marathon pace, it's still, you know, a bit dynamic, but not super soft, more average type of ride. Of course, this chart cannot take into account stuff like the rocker or you know, the geometry, the drop, and these are things that you need to consider maybe watching the dedicated reviews, like the one for the Ultra Vanish Carbon, or reading articles on the website, because they will allow you to understand better how the shoe rides. This chart cannot take everything into account. It's meant to be as comprehensive as possible, but it cannot be super comprehensive either. Then we move on to the best value for money. Atreyu, the artist, 3 stars for the comfort and 3 stars for the stability. And, you know, best value for money, same here. It's not featured here. It's not a measure that is featured on the chart. But if you want to go check the video where we discuss how much costs a gram of carbon plated shoe, go check it out on the channel. I will maybe put it at the end of the video, let's see. But it's a funny one, and the artist just wins hands down. Adios Pro 2, not so far from the artist. The artist was very close to the Adios Pro 1. Adios Pro 2 is very stable, provided, and that's a major caveat, that you are not landing too laterally. If you do land too lateral, this shoe will feel very unstable, and if you run, let's say, if you use this shoe at least for very easy paces, it may feel unstable as well. But marathon pace, if you land, you know, centered or a bit medial, this will really be a very stable shoe. And it's a comfortable one, hence the 4 stars out of 5. And the stars on the Adios Pro 2, I was surprised myself to award the Adios Pro 2 such good rating. The stars are really high. And it's a very good shoe. Prime X from Adidas. So this is where it's very important to understand that it's not because it's more on the dull side that it's a dull shoe or a dull ride. It's just more dull or duller than the shoes that are above it. It's a very efficient ride, very efficiency focused, and therefore it's not super dynamic, but it's a shoe that I personally really appreciate, and it grows on me week after week at this time of the year where I'm trying to increase my running volume. This is really a shoe that I'm grabbing quite easily, because it's such a leg saver. 4 out of 5, sorry, for the comfort, and 4 out of 5 for the stability. Same here. Yes, it can be an ankle breaker in corners. I'm using this shoe on long straights on the canal close to my place in Brussels, and there it's just perfect. And it's a stable ride. The pronation action is very limited for me in this shoe. Same here because of the slightly angled heel and beveled heel. So very interesting shoe. And again, it's not a dull ride at all. It's just less dynamic than the shoes that are on top of it here on this chart. Let's move on to the right. Nike Alphafly, 5 out of 5 in terms of stability. It's a shoe that many people, a bit heavier runners, runners with more pronation, are liking a lot. It's a lower drop, keep that in mind, 4 millimeters. So suiting a bit more midfoot, forefoot strikers and stride runners with a bit of a longer stride and lower cadence, but it works fantastically well, sorry, for other runners as well. Comfort, only 2 out of 5. Many people are reporting issues with the arch support in that shoe, a bit of irritation there, and personally I'm not a huge fan of the upper. Except on the nature version, the fly print upper is very nice, and let's see what V2 brings us, but hopefully it will be a very nice upper update as well. Let's do the Vaporfly. Vaporfly 2 is featured here, that very nice proto colorway. Stability, only 1 out of 5. It's a very unstable shoe for myself, meaning that I have a lot of pronation and pronation velocity when using that shoe, and especially when running at higher paces. Pronation again is not a bad thing, remember, and you can go check the carbon data time videos to hear more about pronation and why it's not a bad thing. You just have to keep in mind that this is not a stable shoe, and then decide whether or not you should use it for a specific race or specific event. But here it gets only 1 star out of 5. Comfort 3, and I would have given it a 4 should it be V1 featured on the chart. I found it a bit more comfortable, but here only 3. Yeah, it's a very snug type of fit, and the heel caused me some issues in the past on the Vaporfly, so only 3 out of 5. Puma Faster NITRO Elite. This is a shoe that released in very limited quantities early March, and we reviewed it on the channel. It's interesting because it has 2 different densities in the heel and the forefoot. Heel is a bit denser, EVA based, and that's why the stability is very good on this shoe, despite it not having the wider platform of all the shoes here. 4 out of 5 in terms of stability, which is a good score. It's not as dynamic as the other super shoes in the top right-hand corner, mostly because the forefoot is that NITRO Elite nitrogen-infused PBAF foam, a bit softer, and I find it, especially for runners like myself, stride runners with a bit more, you know, a higher need, for something a bit firmer in the forefoot to push on. This one doesn't have it, and therefore I feel like I'm not as efficient as in some other shoes in the Faster Elite NITRO from Puma. And then we move to the softest of softest shoes here, the New Balance RC Elite V2. It doesn't get very high scores in terms of comfort and stability, nothing bad about it, but I think the fit, I never really enjoyed the fit. The tongue is a bit too thin, and overall the wrapping of the upper wasn't ideal. And stability, it's a very soft midsole, and despite it having a bit more stack, it still collapses quite a bit on the medial side for myself and for many people I saw running in it. So only 2 stars out of 5. Same for the Puma Deviate Elite, below it 2 out of 5 for the stability. Very soft foam, NITRO Elite again from Puma, nitrogen-infused PBAF foam. And you know, this is a shoe that I really appreciate, but it's not as dynamic. Again, it's not dull. It's very low on the dull to dynamic axis, but it's not a dull ride. It's just that it's not as dynamic as some other shoes. The plate is, let's call it medium stiff, but it doesn't provide much propulsion. And that foam again is quite soft, and despite it being quite bouncy, you don't get as much energy return as you want or as you may expect from super shoes. I do appreciate a lot the Deviate Elite. So again, you know, being at the top, at the bottom, right or left of this chart doesn't mean a lot. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like, subscribe. It really helps the channel. Go check the links in the description if you want to see the image of this chart on the website metaendurance.com. Enjoy your run today, enjoy your ride, and go beyond your limits. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye-bye.